Hi everybody, so part 2, nutrition questions answered. Again, below in the comments if you want a nutrition question answered that I have not gotten to yet, or see the previous video for other questions. So again, I'm going to go through 5 more of these common questions that I get all the time, including one of them that was a comment on the last video. So the first one is, should I eat breakfast? Absolutely yes. The point of breakfast is to break the fast from the night before. So if you are waking up and you find that you aren't hungry, your hunger cues are what actually may be off if you're used to not eating breakfast. When you first wake up, your cortisol levels are the highest, and then they kind of taper off throughout the day as the day goes on. So you want to make sure that you're eating a nutrient-rich, high fiber. You want your protein, your fat, your something fresh with that breakfast to help keep you full until your next meal. If you wake up and immediately go for coffee, all it's going to do is keep your cortisol levels high. That's all that's going to do. And that's because there's nothing in your stomach to break down and digest the coffee or caffeine or whatever you're having. So make sure to eat something before consuming caffeine. And if you take any medication or supplements, you're also going to want to make sure that you have that good breakfast beforehand so you don't get the nausea that can be associated with that. So the next question is, what are the 4 types of hunger? And yes, there are 4. The first is biological. This is your hunger cue. This is plain and simple. Body says, hey, I'm hungry. That's it. The second is a practical one. So this is when you eat, maybe when you're not hungry, because you know you won't be able to eat when you actually are hungry. So for example, you're going to eat at 4 p.m. because you have an event and you won't be home till 9. And the last time you ate was at 1:30. So 1:30 to 9, you're going to get hungry at some point. So even though you may not be hungry at 4, you're still going to have your dinner, your snack, whatever, to get you through until you're home again. So that's practical eating. Then we have emotional hunger. This is something we've probably all experienced before. It's any time you eat due to any emotion, whether it's happiness, sadness, anger, stress, boredom, whatever it is. And lastly, we have the taste hunger. So this is when you just know the cake is going to taste good, and so you have a slice. Like you're like, that looks delicious. I know it's going to taste so good, and you just want a little bite of it. That is the last type of hunger that we have. Start to recognize these as you go throughout your day and see which type of hunger you experience the most. It should mostly be biological and then practical. Emotional and taste are going to be few, far, and in between. But if you find that you're mostly for emotion and taste, then we got to have a conversation. Number 3 of this one is how to ease sugar cravings. So the sugar that you crave could be due to a habit that you didn't know you formed. Every night you have something sweet after dinner. If that's you, and if you've been doing that for months, this is an unintentional habit that you probably created, and that's something that you would need to break if you want to stop that. Or the gut microbiome is making the decision for you. Those are your 2 options. Sugar feeds the bad bacteria in your gut. So if you are always craving sugar, and not just like after dinner, but if you want sugar every single day at random times in the day, like you just always crave sugar, go get your gut checked out. You may be in gut dysbiosis, which is just an imbalance of the good and bad bacteria, because you have both in there, and they both should be equal parts. But if the bad overrun the good, or if the good overrun the bad, it's not a good time in there. Could be SIBO, you could be leaky gut. It also could be a candida overgrowth. I find a lot of times that if you are craving tons and tons of sugar all the time, it's a candida overgrowth, which is just a yeast infection in your gastrointestinal system. You just need to cut out all sugars to starve that bacteria. If you really want something sweet and it's not either of those things, like it's just like, hey, I really want this, or even if it is that habit that you formed, not the gut dysbiosis, switch to fruit. Switch to fruit, plain and simple. Fruit is going to have that sugar that you want. It may not be as good depending upon how your taste buds react. But I know when I had to cut out all of my sugar stuff and then start eating fruit was like the sweetest thing in the world. And then as I've reintroduced, it's not as sweet, but it's still very, very sweet. So your taste buds are going to change based on that. But you also could have heard at some point that fruit's bad for you and you shouldn't have a lot of it. That is only a concern for people who have diabetes or people with insulin resistance. Otherwise, you can have as much fruit as you want. It is packed with fiber, it's packed with micronutrients, and your body needs it, versus the other sugar that's strictly just that, just sugar, nothing else. If you are wanting chocolate, I would switch to one where the ingredients are few and the chocolate isn't alkalized and is dark chocolate. That's where you're going to get those nutrients is from the dark chocolate, not from the milk chocolate. Make sure it's at least a 65% or higher. You want to opt for coconut sugar if you can in that chocolate. So a few good brands are the HU brand. That's the one that's made with coconut sugar. And then the Enjoy Life brand is the one that I like. It's got 3 ingredients. It is a cane sugar base, but I just don't like coconut. I don't like the taste of it. So coconut sugar is just not for me. If you're like, oh, I love coconut, go with the HU brand. But they are really good chocolates, and they do come in dark chocolate, semi-sweet, and all of those. The next question is, how much protein should you eat? I always recommend 100 grams of protein to start with everyone. If you track your food, you probably know how much protein you're getting. More than likely, I see a lot of people in the 40 to 60 range for that. You do want to be at 100. Please slowly go up there or your stomach will hurt. You'll be super gassy because your body's not used to digesting that. So lots of fiber with it as well. Most people are protein deficient. If you find yourself binging at night, that might be why. Could be because of the restriction during the day as well. If you find that you aren't staying full, also could be because you aren't getting enough protein. Protein or amino acids, because proteins are full amino acids, are the building blocks. So if you're looking to change your body composition, you would want more than the 100 grams to build muscle and lose fat. But again, it's going to depend on your goal. I always recommend 100 grams flat out for literally anyone, regardless of goal. Don't be afraid to eat. It's important and your body needs it to run efficiently, okay? And lastly, do calories matter? Yes and no. It depends on your goal and what you're trying to do. Remember that calorie counting can lead to eating disorders and disordered eating patterns, so be aware of that if you do decide to track. It can be good info to know whether or not you're consuming too much or too little based on your activity levels and other factors. Either is not good to run your body efficiently. It can also take time to figure out what your body's homeostasis is, which is just what your body's good at. It's your maintenance. It's just everything is running as it should. Labs are normal, everything. You don't feel fatigued or anything like that. You're just like, all right, I'm good. That's your homeostasis. What we don't want, though, is a weight loss goal with a continually diminishing calorie count and an increase in exercise. That is the sign that reverse dieting needs to happen. If you're like, okay, I was at 1,500 calories, which again is very low, and now I'm at 1,200 and I'm increasing my exercise, I'm still not seeing any results, so then I'm going to go even lower and then I'm going to increase my exercise even more. No, you need to reverse diet back to maintenance or even above. So the next time you feel the need to drop calories, you're not going to have to go to extremes. So say we bump you back up to a maintenance of 2,200. The next time you want to see results and you're like, oh, I just want to lose like a few pounds, you'd only have to drop to 2,000 calories versus 1,200 calories, which is a huge difference. You're still fueling your body properly and not letting it kind of starve out, and is much, much better for the stress levels in your mind and in your body. Because if you're stressed, you're not getting sleep, any of that goal is not going to happen regardless. So keep that in mind. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you have questions that you want answered, again, please comment below this video.